I'm Chris. This is the Art of the Call podcast, video podcast, where we're talking to artists, curators, and directors about the call for entry process. And in this video, it is Matt Gleason, who is a curator in Los Angeles. And I do like his hair. Maybe, I don't know.
The value that an artist should get back from a juried show is the experience of actually sending the work in, having the work hang, just the whole process that every artist goes through. It's a way of getting your feet wet. But what you really should get out of the experience is the feedback, people seeing your work. A place that's going to show you in a juried show should guarantee you a certain amount of foot traffic. Are they having a big opening? Are they buying a big keg of beer or having some nice wine and hors d'oeuvres at the opening? That's a big difference in drawing people who are then going to see your art and interact with it. You should be guaranteed the least of feeling like you are now part of an artist community. In our culture today, every artist is an underdog artist. The odds are so stacked against people, even people who have the means to pay for good materials, good education, and good studio space. They're still up against Hollywood. They're up against consumer products. Art collectors are constantly bombarded by many stimuli. You go to any art collector's house, in addition to their collection, you'll see architectural concerns and all kinds of stuff they've acquired in their world travels. So the artist is constantly, nobody ever talks about it, but antique shops are a big rival to art galleries. And the people who buy art, fine art, also buy antiques, by and large. So this is a big thing artists need to know about. Oh, I tell people if they're in a juried show to say that it was curated by the juror, and I believe that they're indistinct. The difference, of course, is that juried shows tend to be fundraisers for arts organizations and therefore require the artist to contribute financially, whereas if I'm curating a show outside of the juried system, I'm looking for artists who I think their art's going to sell to a collector. That's a totally different paradigm, and yet it's really quite similar. The one thing I notice with established artists over beginning artists is it's not really the art. You know, a beginning artist can make a masterpiece, sometimes by luck. An experienced artist, especially one with a decent education and a knowledge of where they stand in art history, of course, is more likely to make something that's good. But the one thing I notice is there's a level of professionalism. Once an artist is experienced, and this is one thing a juried show really, for just a beginner, really is so important, is just to learn how to kind of behave. You know what? Be a freak and a nut in your art. The freaky, nutty, out there art, people will go, wow. But if you are a freak, nut, and out there to people, it's like, you know what? We don't necessarily want to be around you. You get status in the art world when you can deliver. For example, many artists come to gallery owners and curators like myself and say, it's the equivalent of saying, "Daddy, carry me." There's no power in that, and there's no status in that. Daddy, carry me. But when you can be the one that people want to carry, that I want to carry you, because we're going to the top. You have status. That's what an artist needs to create. The desire for me to want to carry you. Curators and gallerists acquire status by consistency, actually. You know, anybody can do one great show. Wow, what are you going to do for me next? What have you done for me lately? The consistency, the reliability, the being in the art world, and I'm going to be in the art world until something better comes along. Are you an art world lifer? Then you have status. You know, it's nice to be able to see a real artwork in the juried process. It's the best case scenario. The problem is an arts organization needs to open the art that it's showing to its community to a wider audience, and with technology today, you can come very close to images that represent the artwork well. And so the value in putting a show together that has like a wide scope of people from all over, to the people in the community that are going to see that show, that's invaluable instead of seeing the same 10 people who can haul their work down to the nearby gallery. You know, I work at an organic level, my process in looking at art when I jury a show and when I curate a show is exactly the same. Is how is this going to excite people? Is this going to matter? Is this piece relevant to my audience? And or better yet, is this going to expand the minds and consciousness of my audience? Is it the same old, same old? If the answer is yes, I probably don't want it. But if there's, you know, a tweak there or something radically new, different, or interesting, you know, it could be really old and trivial, but if it's interesting and compelling, it's great art. That's what I'm always looking for. There are times that I've not selected an artwork because I was like, I don't know if I want to meet this person. How does that sound? That's a fair enough thing. But sometimes you look and you do play games like, oh, I wonder what this person is like. In curating and jurying, it's the same thing. It's like, you know, you end up interacting with the artist. The jury process is a bit more removed in just seeing the images, but you know, you attend the show, you're going to meet most of the people. Whereas when you curate, you're definitely like, oh wow, I wonder what this person's like. I want them in a show. Are they going to be easy to work with? Are they going to be a headache? Are they going to be fun? Are they going to be as crazy as their paintings, you know? What makes a legitimate space for you to enter a juried show is what that space can deliver to you. Do they have foot traffic? Do people visit this gallery? Is this in an art center in the world? Is it if it's not in a major city, is it near a museum? Do people in the local art community visit it? Is it vital to the local art dialogue? You know, is your work going to be seen, understood, and respected by basically your peers in that town? When I jury a call, like I've been offered money and actually turned it down sometimes because I felt some of the spaces were basically just trying to make money off the artist, and I wasn't even sure there was going to be a show, and I didn't want my name associated with that. So there has to be, when I jury a show, it has to be a space that has exhibitions. Do you have a regular exhibition scheduled? Do you have the standard, do you have white walls and track lighting? I mean, is it a gallery? You know, would I want the artists that I represent at my gallery to show at your gallery? You know, are you a hokey craft gallery? That might not be right for somebody who's in the fine art world like myself. So, you know, these are all concerns for me personally. I don't want my name to attach to something that isn't giving the artists the best art gallery experience possible. Well, it's a time-honored tradition in the art world that the opening reception is going to be 75 to 90% of the foot traffic, and that's a good thing. It's a big party, and it's to honor the artist on the wall, and every gallery should deliver that. You have to honor the effort, the work that went into the work. And now many places get good foot traffic depending on their location. A lot of galleries do programming besides the opening reception. I know many galleries have chamber music, or they'll have you know, small concert schedules, poetry readings, panel discussions. But you know, they do draw people, and those are just more people looking at your art, seeing your name, and building your legacy. Well, in addition to making a good picture, a good sculpture, whatever kind of art you're making, you really have to photograph it well, and it's not that difficult. Technology's come a long way. You don't need to take it down to a photo studio, and I mean, there's just a few tips. I mean, you can search the internet and find just the simplest tips, and it doesn't really cost that much to hire somebody to come out to your studio and take great pictures. And so if you're investing in your career, that's one way to invest, because the worst thing in the world as a curator is when somebody sends me some art that looks like it might be good, but I can't tell because it's a bad photo. Imagine that if you'd spent the 75 bucks to have somebody come down and shoot some photos of your art to make it look at its best, you know. And juried shows, curators, you know, your website, it's something to really consider. The presentation of your art is as important, is the next thing in importance to the art itself. I've juried a lot of shows, and I think if you go to a lot of juried shows, you'll see this. And it took me a while to really notice this, because I would see the shows and say, wow, it looks different than a show I would curate. What am I doing wrong? And there's the tendency when you're looking at like a lit screen is to favor things that have a good dark relief. And so a well composed black line, design-oriented art is going to be stuff that jurors tend to favor intuitively or absent consciousness. They're just going to go, oh, that looks good. It looks good on a glowing screen. It doesn't necessarily look good sitting in a gallery. So I have to really restrict my impulses. I don't jury on impulse. If I juried on optic impulse, it would be more of these kind of design type artworks would get in. And I think a lot of jurors, though, are wise to this now. It's a topic being discussed in curatorial circles.